Hey, Spiritual Squad, this is Richard of Guidance by Richard. Hope everyone is doing well. I appreciate it and thank you for joining this platform. Just a reminder, please like, share, subscribe to my various platforms. You can see them noted below. And also, if this is the first time you're here, I appreciate you taking the time to listen. And if you're a continuing person or group, I thank you for your support. And it's time for another moment. Today's In the Moment chapter is about wearing different hats. So, just to remind everybody, we have to have different hats for different seasons, different things we do, the roles we play, and we have to sort of maybe sometimes switch hats. We might take one hat off, we may put a different hat on or change it, or just life has different hats we put on. You could be a parent, you could be an employee, you could be an employer, and so on and so forth. Either way, it's understanding the role that you play respectfully. So just a reminder about the roles we play and the hats we sometimes have to switch. When we decide to work for something, someone, organization, our hats kind of change. We indirectly agree to take on wearing the hat as respects to that organization and the roles they play. So for an example, if you are to work for Amazon, Amazon says then you work for them and you'll do deliveries or whatever you may be. That's the hat you're going to put on. And so that responsibility that you agree to means that you're going to stay within the guidelines of what that frame looks like. And that same frame, although you may or may not be on the clock during your hours, that hat says you're still going to wear the hat. And that kind of responsibility is the role and the role model we play. And sometimes the roles and the role model we may be, we may not want to put that hat on. However, as that role model, respectfully so, it's expected of you to kind of fall within the guidelines of what that looks like and that responsibility. And when you agree to take on that title or that role, there are certain requirements of that. And even with the requirements, you may not even like that responsibility. You say, well, I'm working my core hours this time. I'm wearing that hat during those hours. However, keep in mind, the role you play, the title that you hold, the presence you are representing something else, someone else, or another organization. They gave you and you agreed to the terms. And so even though you may not be working those hours, you still agree to be the role model or play that role 24 hours. You may not like it, but I'm explaining to you, especially because our hats change. And depending on how you show up, you don't know how you look as representation. And we are really being measured now for what that looks like. So you have to be diligent and be responsible for the hat that you're wearing and the role that you play and the role model role you play. So despite whether you agree you're off the clock, how you represent yourself is all the time. The role you play is all the time. So I see myself as a role model, being responsible. And for the most time, I like to have fun, enjoy. When I'm in my actual role, I'm doing that. I'm sticking to that because I represent something else. In my case, it's representing God, the higher conscience. So I look at that responsibility as all the time. So when I'm Richard, but how people perceive me and look at that as a reality. So that becomes the responsibility of what I represent and who I represent. So you got to remember that because people are being measured by that. You may not like it, may not agree with it. It could work really good for you or it could work very bad for you. So especially in light of all these topics that are coming out, people feeling within the boundaries of their responsibilities and their titles, if they're not looking or playing the part that people see you as, that individual will feel offended or not, I should be entitled to be myself. Then the agreement is you chose to wear that hat. So you have to remember With that hat comes a role, a responsibility, and that hat will always be worn. So respectfully, so you have to think about that. So it doesn't mean it makes it right or wrong. It just means in the scheme of how we're being looked at and measured, that is a factor. What hat you're going to wear, staying with the lane and the agreement of a role. So if you are a inspirational person and people look up to you, you have to remember you still represent that regardless. So then if you don't like it, agree with it, then it means you have to give up the role, and what that role looks like represents that place, and be at peace with it, because you're going to be measured for that. So remember, what hat are you going to wear? Say the hat you want to keep on. Be aware that that hat could extend beyond your normal day, and be responsible. I appreciate your time. I thank you for everything. Please like, subscribe, share with others. Feedback, comments, add comments too. I appreciate that too. And I look forward to seeing you soon.